Some people wear two faces, and then they forget which one is real.
Which face are you wearing? Find out on the Power to Prosper show coming up next.
Power to Prosper next.
From coast to coast and around the world, you have the power to prosper. Welcome to The Power to Prosper with your host, Dr. H. Michael Chitwood. Dr. H. Michael Chitwood is one of the influential speakers of our time.
God is opening doors for those who can see. My question to you is, can you really see what God has for you?
Broadcasting live around the world, Dr. H. Michael Chitwood is a powerful, dynamic speaker who has helped thousands prosper according to God's Word.
You are perfect for your purpose. See, no one can take your place and no one can do what you're called to do. There is no substitute for you. You have been pre-planned for purpose.
Discover how you can prosper in every area of your life: finances, family, your job, your faith, health, and your entire life. Get ready for transformative insights, life-changing principles, and practical wisdom to unlock your full potential.
God loves to use ordinary people to do extraordinary things in this world.
Join us now and experience the power of prosperity with Dr. H. Michael Chitwood. Broadcasting live, this is The Power to Prosper.
Welcome, everyone, to the Power to Prosper show. I am your co-host, Ashley Rogers, and this is the amazing, incredible Dr. H. Michael Chitwood.
Welcome, everybody, to the Power to Prosper show, where that we believe that you have the power to prosper. This audience is fired up, and I want to know how many of you are ready to get fired up, to get on fire to a whole new level. Let me hear you.
Well, I believe this is going to be an unforgettable show because
Yes.
I heard that you are going to teach us how to not be forgotten.
Think about all the great people in history. Think about all the ones that you can remember.
Okay.
They did something that had never been done before. I always say this: when you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. I believe we have so many watching this show today worldwide. By the way, 331 million households in over 100 countries. That's a bunch of
That's a
people
lot
that
of
we love
people.
and are glad that you're watching this show. But we're glad that you're part of this today because we know that you have the potential to do something great. And I tell you what, I just want to find out if you in the audience believe that you can do something great. Why don't you let everybody know that you can? Look at that. They're ready, fired up, ready to go.
An entire room full of potential, if you will.
That's a good word. A room full of potential. Everybody's got potential.
So how can these people make this a reality?
That's a good question too. Well, they can make this a reality by manifesting the vision of God for their lives.
Okay.
Everything starts with God. When they began to execute their purpose in this earth, and they could see how each one of these seeds of greatness would come forth with creativity. I believe that everybody is designed to have some form of creativity on the inside of you. It was put there by the Creator. You're the most creative people on the face of the earth.
You get those God-given talents,
That's true, yes.
We're living in the most creative era since the beginning of time. I believe some unforgettable people are about to rise to the top, and they might be in this very room.
I believe that too. And there are people watching today worldwide who are about to go down in history and become unforgettable. Remember, if you're unforgettable, people are going to remember you for decades and for years and for generations. And that's also with creating generational wealth, because the contributions that you're going to make, they're about to make society totally different. I want to encourage you, those of you that's watching, those of you that's in the audience today, I want to encourage you that your ideal, your concept, don't give up on your invention. It may be a book, it may be a song, it may be starting a business. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. And for goodness sake, don't put it on the shelf and not execute. I'm declaring to you now that you need to execute the vision, the dream that God has placed into your heart, your life, your spirit.
Absolutely. Can you imagine all of these people that are unforgettable, that have done these amazing things, and before they did it, it was just an idea? Like it was just an idea they had, and then they actually followed through with that idea.
I tell you, there's so many great things that people have done that didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, I mean, Steve Jobs, all these great people. Who would ever think we'd have Amazon? I mean,
It was all just an idea once.
But
I'm thinking about all of the things that I have yet to do because I want to be unforgettable like you, because I think you're a very unforgettable person. There is no one on the earth that has done all of the things that you've done. So you are definitely unforgettable. The great Jerry Falwell said that if you ever meet him, if you ever talk to him, you'll never forget him.
I remember that statement. We were standing on the courthouse steps in Atlanta, Georgia. He had just filed a lawsuit against Larry Flynn or Harry Flynn, whatever his name was. This has been years ago. And they were talking to Jerry Falwell, who was a great, great man, is asking him a question about the lawsuit and everything. And then they pointed at him and said, well, what did he have to do with this? He said, well, all I can tell you is if you ever meet him, if you ever talk to him, you'll never forget this guy.
It's true. It's true.
I believe that people can recognize your ability, your gifts, and also your calling. You have something to contribute to earth. You weren't put here to do nothing. So get up off of what you're sitting on and go do something for God, the kingdom, and even your family.
Yes, use those God-given gifts and do something with it. Come on, we're not sitting around waiting all day. But anyway, all right, enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on. We have an amazing, amazing guest today. I'm so excited for you all to get to hear what she has to say. So stick around with us because up next is Seen and Unseen.
Dr. Chitwood, he sparked a fire in us whenever we met him last fall. And that started just, an amazing strive to continue to follow the dream and goal that God gave us years and years ago, but we never knew how to go about doing it. And then you hear Dr. Chitwood in the background saying, you can do this, let's work together and let's achieve your dream. And you need someone on your side like him that will be that for you person and not against you. And he really does have a very passionate love to see your success story succeed. And he wants to make sure that he's a part of it.
Well, welcome back to the Power to Prosper show. We've had a great show so far, but I have a special guest today, dear friend of mine for years, the whole family I just love, and she's back on the white couch. And I want you to have the honor to introduce my friend and my family, Paulette Phillips.
I would be so honored. Paulette Phillips is the wife of Pastor Ron Phillips and is an integral part of Abba's House. After a 20-year career as a high school English and literature teacher, she resigned to follow God's calling into ministry. She served for 12 years at Abba's House as pastor of adult ministries, overseeing all of the life group discipleship programs and directing the women's ministry. She currently serves as the pastor to senior adults and preaches and teaches as needed. Paulette is the author of 7 books, including Rooms of Her Heart and Strategic Living in Strange Times. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Miss Paulette.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So good to have you here again. You've been with us on one of the shows with your son and your husband. It's so good to have you here. You had the call of God on your life, Sister Paulette, and it was a call upon your family, really, but you had it on yourself, and you had to manage a professional career, and then you had to be a minister at the same time. So you was a professional school teacher, taught English, and then you were in the ministry. Tell us about your marriage and your family, and how did you manage all of that?
Because she's Superwoman.
Well, no,
Superwoman.
I'm not Superwoman. No, but I had the call of God on my life as a child. It started, I played the piano, and we went from a big church to being charter members of a startup church, my parents. And they needed a piano player. Well, I had just started taking piano and was not very good. but they wanted me to play. And my teacher was Church of Christ, and she didn't believe in playing hymns, but she agreed to teach me hymns. So every time I'd learn a hymn, we would sing it at church until I learned another one. And so I began to feel responsible for the church, accountable, loyal, because I needed to be there. So it became a big part of my life. So as a teenager, I felt the call. I knew I wanted to serve God. But as a Baptist, even though I was on staff at my church being paid as a teenager, Baptists didn't believe in women in ministry. So I thought, Lord, I just don't want to be a missionary.
Right.
I want to teach. So I married a pastor, Ron. We were sweethearts since maybe 13, off and on. And I knew he had a call.
13 years of age?
Yeah.
Wow,
so
y'all
cute.
met that young.
Well, we were in the same church and the same school. And I'll tell you this, it was in the spring, and it was Sadie Hawkins' dance, and he was too shy to ask me. And the girls are supposed to ask the guys, so I asked him.
You asked him to do the
Good for
dance.
you.
To the dance at school, and he said, sure, I'll go. And I thought,
He was like, yeah, sure. But then deep down he was like, oh my God.
but he had on a football uniform back in those days. But anyway, I digress. But I knew I was to serve God. So I just did it with teaching. And I loved teaching. I loved my high school students. I loved what I did. But I also worked at the church, volunteer. You know, I led the women's ministry from 1985. Ronnie was about 5 or 6 until I retired. And it was just what I could do to serve God.
You know, you said that you weren't Superwoman, but for you to be a professional teacher, a professional piano player, manage the family affairs, and also do all the teaching in the church, it sounds to me like that she was a superwoman.
Yes, I would say so.
But let me say family first.
Family first, yeah.
Always.
That's amazing.
Always. Because that's my greatest honor, my greatest responsibility, and my greatest joy.
Well, speaking of family, I want to ask you to tell us a little bit about your answered prayer for your son, because I know you touched on that on one of our other shows, but I love the story so much, and I think everybody just wants to hear it again.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I had 2 girls. One was 8 and one was 11. Such a joy. And I was open to having another child because when the girls came along, we were in seminary. And, you know, everybody that goes to seminary is poor as a church mouse. So it was very difficult, you know, in the beginning. So I kind of wanted another child, but it was not just hammering me yet. And I had some health issues, and my gynecologist said, you don't need to think about having a baby right now till your body gets strong. About 6 months. And during that time, God just deposited a passion in my life for a baby. And it was really kind of silly because I couldn't pass a baby without touching it or cooing with it or talking to the mama about it or, you know, everybody in the church that had a new baby or every time I saw one. And so when my 6 months were up, I began to pray. And one night or early evening when I was, you know, like I said, in the bathroom, taking off my makeup and getting ready for the evening, going to bed, I began to pray the prayer of Hannah. And I promised the Lord, I said, if you will give me a son, I promise I will do my very best to raise him to love you and serve you.
Yes.
As best I can. And I believe I kept that promise. I didn't know God was going to call him to preach. I didn't know what God was going to do. It wasn't my decision to make. But I trusted God and tried to lead him in the right path. And God just did above and beyond anything I ever imagined and thought.
And we
haven't
love
met
Pastor Ronnie, too. He's great.
He sure is. I haven't met your 2 daughters, but I'll tell you what, one of my best friends is your son. In fact, we just got through talking about going back to Fort Lauderdale. He said, hurry up, it's cold up here. You have a great son. He's great. He
Thank
lives
you.
right.
He does.
I mean, he's just a great son. If I had really ever had a real good son, I would want him to be just like Ronnie. I'm serious.
Yes, he's amazing.
Yeah,
And
he's
he
amazing.
speaks so highly of
Yeah.
you as well. Well, we're going to take a really quick break, but we have a few more questions for you, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
What I say about Dr. Chitwood is he's just nothing short of amazing. Like, I'm so glad to be here. And to hear Dr. Chitwood tell you and teach you the possibilities, this is like just the beginning of something great.
And so as I'm sitting in these sessions, I'm thinking legacy. I'm thinking generationally. It's not just about me, but it's about those that come after me and leaving a legacy for them.
He's like having that rich uncle to kind of give you the inside information, everything you need to do, what you don't need to do. I would say you can't afford not to come. It's more costly not to come here than it is to stay home.
Just being here at this conference right now has been just amazing to hear these testimonies and to see the new things that he's involved in. I think one thing that Dr. Chitwood teaches you is that you can dream big, but you have to hear from God, and I think that's the key. If you hear the voice of God, then you can stand, you can fight. You've got to have your foundation right. He said God will not bless a mess.
And that he cares enough to see that other people would have such a desire to have it is very, 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 very powerful.
I feel like I have a personal mentor and a personal friend that I have access to all the time because he's on Periscope and Facebook, and I just don't feel alone anymore.
Well, welcome back to the Power to Prosper, this special edition with a great lady, Minister Paulette Phillips. I want to ask you, tell us about your teaching and how did you feel like that prevented you from doing ministry teaching? From an educator, did it stop you, prevent you, hold you back from doing ministry teaching?
Well, I'm sure it did somewhat because I was limited with my time. I couldn't always go with Ron. I could not always be at events because of teaching and the children. And that was okay. Mm-hmm. That was okay. I had no guilt about that because I did what I felt like the Lord wanted me to do and as much as I could. But when God called me away from teaching, I was like, what is the great lady? Redheaded lady, older woman, real older that teaches, Sarah and what's her name? Marilyn Hickey. Her story is similar to mine.
Sure is.
She was a teacher, and God called her away from teaching in her 50s. And he did the same for me. Mm-hmm. And I thought about her. It gave me encouragement because of her story.
Yeah. Wow.
And 2 years before I left teaching, God told me to leave. He says, all he told me was, I want you to teach for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is fine. But then when I left, I waited 2 years. I said, Lord, I could retire in just a few years.
But how did you make that transition? That seems to me like that your passion was educator. How did you make that transition? I'd like to know that so I could tell my thousands of churches how you did it, because it's a real difficult task.
Well, the Lord got tired of asking me.
Ah, wow.
And he said, and he never speaks harshly to me.
No.
But I heard him clearly. He says, I want you to leave teaching, and I want you to leave now. And you can either leave with honor or dishonor.
Wow, wow.
And
wow.
I resigned. Mm-hmm. And had a good cry because I love my students and I love what I did. Mm-hmm. But I also love God, and I knew it was time. Mm-hmm. It's just being obedient is not always easy. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do anything different at the church for a little while, but as soon as I severed the ties, God told me to start a community Bible study, which we called Haven. And I did that for women
That's
till
when
I
it got
retired.
launched right there, your ministry
That's right.
teaching
And
and your
all-
ministry.
And all my books came from
Now,
my
we want to talk,
teaching.
I'm glad you brought that
And
up.
Haven.
We want
All
to,
my books came out of Haven that I taught.
we want to talk about that book. Tell us about
Yes.
this.
Yes, please tell us about this book. I know she's written 7 different books, but this is the one we have with us today. And tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, this book and all my books are written with a study guide. They are books that can be taught
Look
in
at that. I
a group
opened it up.
study. And at the end, there's a study guide for every chapter.
Uh-huh.
And I've also included in all my books an answer key. And Daniel probably is the most difficult book I taught and wrote about, and it's the most rewarding.
So you have you have the book, you have the study guide,
And the answer key.
and then you have the answer key. So actually, from what I understand, the first few chapters could be taught to children, young children,
Yes.
but the last chapters need to be taught to adults.
Right, the first 6 chapters are narratives.
Oh,
They're
okay.
stories. And you can, Daniel in the Lion's Den, chapter 6. You can teach that to children.
Yes,
right,
you can.
Right.
You know, and Daniel's commitment to pray, even when it's against the law. And this is a book that not a lot different from our society today.
Wow.
A society that hated him and hated his God and wanted to make him subservient and destroy his faith, even giving him a different name. But Daniel stood firm in his faith. He challenged gently. He negotiated not to eat from the king's table. He interpreted a dream, whether if he didn't, he would die.
Yes.
And God revealed it to him. And chapter 3, Daniel's not even in that chapter at all. That's the 3 men who went through the fire.
I'm just wondering if you will let me release the surprise to everybody that you have given to us. Is it okay if I do it?
Yes.
Minister Paulette Phillips has given us 2 boxes of this book. This is a #1 private edition book, only found at Abba's house. It's not on Amazon. You can't get it anywhere. Strategic Living in Strange Times. She's donated 2 boxes. It's yours free. We're not charging anything. It's normally about $15, maybe 20 in some places, but you get it free. But you've got to go to info@vbntv.org and send us a note. And I tell you, they're going to go quick because we only have 2 boxes, so you need to get your request in quickly. We'll cover all the postage. We don't want anything. We're going to send this to you free. It's your gift from Minister Paulette Phillips. And by the way, all of you that's in the audience, you need to thank her for giving us all these books so that we can put into your life. And by the way, this book can be taught in tell us about that very quickly.
All right, the first half of the book is a narrative stories of Daniel's life and how he encountered opposition through the leadership. The last half of the book is totally prophetic. He encounters angels and he has prophecies all the way to the end of time.
So the first part is the book, second part is the study guide,
Prophecies.
the third part is the answers. Can
Right.
be taught the first few chapters to young kids, and the last 6 chapters needs to be taught to adults. I
Right.
think I've got that right.
Right.
I tell you what, I'm not giving anybody this one. I'm taking this home and I'm going to read this myself. If you want it, go to info@vbntv.org.
Don't forget, you can get this at info@vbntv.org. And stick around with us because coming up next is Common Sense.
Call Michael Chitwood. Call his ministry today. Let him help you. Let him bring the years of experience to your church and to you personally. Let me add this about your church. I'm amazed at how many churches are not in compliance. You know, I go somewhere and speak, and I have to call and ask them for a 1099 so that I can keep my own books in order. You better be careful and make sure that not only your personal taxes, but your church situation's in line. Dr. Chitwood has all the experts, all the gifts, and all the material and all the information to make sure everything in your church is in order. And by the way, there are a few other ministries and accountants that do this kind of work, but I promise you they won't do it at the cost effectiveness that Chitwood will. So let me encourage you right now to do what Ron Phillips wishes he'd done 25 years ago. Call Michael Chitwood. Call him today.
Our viewers send in text messages asking us some questions, so it's time to find out what a few of those questions are.
Older
So let's get started
woman,
with
real
Landon
older,
from
that
Augusta,
teaches
who wants to
Sarah
know,
and,
to be successful,
what's her
does
name?
that mean that you
Marilyn
would never
Marilyn
fail?
Hickey.
To
Her
be successful,
story
does that
says
mean that you
much.
never
is.
fail?
She was a teacher.
Minister
and
Paulette,
God
you're
had
an
her
educator. What do you
in
think about
her
that
50s.
question?
I
think we fail often.
And I thought
And
about her, it gave me
failure
encouragement.
is probably the first step toward success.
Wow, that's good.
And since I told you I played the piano, if I gave up the first time I tried a new piece, I never would learn to play. But you have to, pick yourself up, start over again. People lose elections, but they go back.
Well,
Hey, look,
But how did
that's
you
a
make
good
that
point.
transition?
That's a very good
That
point.
seems to
failure
me
is
like
part of the
your
process.
passion
But
was
we tell
educator.
people when you have a setback,
How
don't take
did
a
you make
step
that
back.
That's right.
Get ready
transition?
for a
I'd
comeback.
like to know that so
I
I
like
can tell my
that.
thousands of
Alex from
churches how you
Kansas
did
City
it. Because
asks,
it's a
what
real
role does discipline
it's a real
play in
difficult
success?
task.
Well,
Wow.
the Lord got tired
You've
of
been an
that.
educator.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
And
I bet
he
you were a
said-
disciplined
he said-
teacher.
and
Homework
he
had to
never
be in.
speaks
Don't skip
harshly
class.
to
What do you think
No.
of this here? What role
But I
does
heard him
discipline
clearly.
play
He
in
says,
success?
I want you to lead.
Absolute huge role.
Huge
A
role.
huge role.
And you can
And
either lead with honor
self-discipline is the goal.
Self.
Wow.
Self-discipline.
That's a
Wow.
good word right there.
Because, your parents can make
had a
you
good cry.
clean your
Because
room
I
or do
love
your
my students
homework or
so
wash
much.
the car or whatever
But
it
I
is
also
that
love
they
God,
want you
and
to
I knew
do.
this time
But
it's
until you
just
volunteer
being obedient
because
is
you want to
always
do
easy.
it,
That's good.
whether
So
it's just
I
something a
didn't do
parent
anything
asks you to
different in the
do,
church for a little
or it's your
while, but
profession.
As soon as I
and that would prompt you
severed
might
the
to go to
ties,
the second mile,
God
to
told me
do a little
start
something
reading Bible
extra
study.
because you
Even
simply
Paul
see that it needs to be
And I
What do
done.
you think?
for
Well, my
women.
favorite book says the hand of
That's
the
what you
diligent
got launched right
makes you
there,
rich.
your
Stand
ministry
diligent
teaching
and
and your
discipline
ministry.
And
to
all
see
my
in
books
success.
came.
Now we want to talk
Yes.
about that. You brought that up.
Yes.
Special
We
edition
All
want
my books came.
of the
Thank
Power to
you.
Prosper show.
we want to
Special
talk
edition
about that book.
on
Tell us
this
about
show
this.
with
Yes, please
Minister
tell us about this
Paulette
book. I know she's
Phillips.
written
I'll tell you
7
what,
different
it's been
books,
great. If you
but
could
this is
join
the one we
Minister
have with us
Paulette
today.
Phillips, how about
And
that?
tell us a little bit about it.
I know you love her. Hey, listen, thank you for being with us on the Power to Prosper. Don't forget about Chitwood and Chitwood. If you need your books
Look at
cleaned
that, I
up,
opened it up.
you need your books
And at
fixed,
the end,
we can
there's
do that
a
for you, your
study guide for
501c3.
every
And
chapter.
also,
Uh-huh.
don't
And I've
forget about
also
your
included
certified
in all
ministerial
my books.
credentials. The IRS now has
Daniel
hit Texas
probably
and taken away minister
is the
status
most difficult
because they
book I
never were
taught
ordained by
and
a
wrote
proper
about. And
ordaining
it's the most
body.
rewarding.
So check into
So
that.
you have
can get
the book,
contact with us
you
at
have the study guide,
vbntv.org.
and then you have the
Want to
answer
email us
key.
for the
So
free books, you can
actually,
go to
from what I
info
understand, the first few
@vbntv.org.
chapters could be taught to
We gotta
children,
go.
young children,
We
but
gotta
the
go.
last
And the next
chapters
time, this
need
is
to be
Michael
taught to
Chitwood.
adults.
Right, the first
And
6
we'll see
chapters
you
are
on the
marriage.
next hour.
Ah,
Pretty much.
Thanks for watching The Power to Prosper. Contact us at vbntv.org and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/vbnTVORG. And be sure to join us next time on The Power to Prosper.